Hey guys, Krell Cooper here with On the Black, and I'm joined by Michael Ganci. He's the co-editor, co-owner, and editor of the Mets blog Daily Stache. What's going on, Mike?
Not much. Watching the Mets winning 1-0. Hopefully they keep it, depending on everything, but we'll see how it goes.
That would be good. That would be good. But hey, you know what? Half of their team is minor leaguers, and they're only a few games under 500, so I'll take it.
Well, yeah, we'll change our name to the Overachiever, sure.
So hey, before we get started, why don't you just say a few words about yourself and about Daily Stache?
Sure. We started in 2008 when the two warped minds named Michael Ganci and Matthew Falkenberry came together. That was the biggest mistake of my life. And he's going to be happy with me for saying that. But yeah, we both had our own separate blogs, and neither one of them was really doing the right thing. I was blogging about everything, and he was blogging about just the Mets. So we came together, and I will admit, Matt, he came up with the name, the Daily Stache, and it kind of took off from there. We didn't think we were much, and then people started commenting, and lo and behold, over time, it gained recognition, and now people know we are, and it's nice. And unfortunately, these days, I can't be as involved as I'd like to be because I run an online newspaper.
Okay.
Called East Meadow Patch. I don't know if you've heard of Patch. It's an AOL thing, and
Yep.
I'm out the island with that. So, but first and foremost, my love is the Mets. If a sports job came open, that was ideal. I would say bye-bye Patch and hello sports job.
I got you. Now, me being a single blogger, I do everything on my blog. I've always wondered, when guys team up and do a blog together, how does that work a little bit? I mean, how do you guys split the roles and responsibilities? I mean, you guys are co-owners, but I know you also have a few other writers for the blog too. How does that all work?
Well, it's funny when we first started, and I went to the game with Matt yesterday, so we were talking about this. And when we first started, it was me that was running it for the most part, and Matt was the occasional post. And now we've kind of switched up places. But in the beginning, when that was the case, it seemed like I had more of the authoritative vote in terms of decision making. Whatnot. Now. Matt lives on Twitter. I don't know what he does the rest of his life. And, he's contacting everyone, which is great for us. And, he interacts with the writers for the most part now. And, he's got my blessing. I mean, if I think, he does something or if anybody does something that's over the line, we address it together. Or, I'm always looking for people, to help out with different things. And we work together with that. We have our disagreements, as every family does. I guess I should say how corny that sounds, but it's going well, and hopefully, it passes Mets blog.
Cool. Yeah, I have my chats with Matt and have my fun with him on Twitter too. So he's a cool dude.
He's a character, that's for sure.
Now, was kind of looking over your latest blog post that you wrote specifically. And it had to do with 50 reasons why the Mets aren't contenders. Want to chat a little bit about that and tell me kind of the idea behind that blog post you wrote?
Sure. Well, cynicism as the basis of being a Met fan.
Absolutely.
Well, I've grown up. It's funny because I was born in 1986, and my father loves to say that the Mets are cursed because of my birth. And, it's... Just watching it over the years, yeah, sure, we've seen some pretty atrocious teams, but it all comes from the top. I mean, just this little snafu with Fred Wilpon over the things he said, to that writer about Reyes and Beltran. And, I mean, those things, you think, what is he thinking? Yes, we get he's a fan, but why put that in the public eye? Right. Are you just trying to get sympathy? I mean, because all we're going to do is say, huh? Because it just makes no sense.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. So I decided that, I decided to put everything, because that's what I do. Being a writer is, I express myself better in print.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to put everything down, and I decided that I was going to do 100 reasons. But then I was in like the 20s, and I was like, there's no way I'm getting 100. But it all starts at the top, which is why number one and number two are Fred Wilpon and Jeff Wilpon. And then, of course, you get to the comedic things, which are really not funny, but they're so bad they are funny, like Bobby Bonilla still being paid and
Yeah,
things like that.
and the fact that they deferred some of the money, to invest more with Madoff, and that's biting them in the backside now too. So
Just a little bit.
yeah, just a tad bit,
Yeah.
a tad bit.
But and the fact that this new, well, it's not official yet with this minority owner, but the fact that he reminds me of Ace Ventura every time they say his name, I mean that's probably the best thing recently. I mean, you just got to be able. Unfortunately, as Met fans, you have to be able to laugh, or else you're in for some serious bad times.
You absolutely are. But hey, let's hope that hope that all these bad times turn into good times, and we get to cherish a World Series one of these days.
For one of these days, but you know what? I think there is kind of, I don't want to say an illness, but like there's a small part in each of us, I think, that we see, the Mets winning 1-0 now. They've won 2 in a row.
Yeah, you're looking over it behind your back, and I'm looking at it here.
They won 2 in a row. And you think, Arizona's not that good of a team. They just won, I think they've won something like 15 out of 17.
Yeah.
And, this team, if they do the right thing and play their small ball, they could win a few games here and there, and there's really no secondary teams that are that great in the National League.
Right.
They could compete for a wild card. And I mean, I think that's all right now with what's going on with this team that we ask for as fans is competition.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
If they don't, then Citi Field is going to be a very dismal place to be in September.
Yeah. And I mean, you touched on a good point there. I mean, even with all the injury, and I'm not making excuses for this team at all, but even with all the injuries that they've had, they've only been blown out a few times. I mean, they've been in, almost every game. Even this weekend against the Phillies, they lost 2 out of 3, but they were in, both of those games they lost until the last few innings, and then, the bullpen had issues, but, I'm not going to kill the bullpen right now because they've actually been pretty good this year, talking specifically about K-Rod and Izzy, so.
Well, that's a heck of a story, because I remember having that Generation K poster on my wall. And then, Pulsifer went to the Long Island Ducks.
Yeah.
Paul Wilson, actually, he had a little bit of a string with Cincinnati. I think that he was decent.
I think so, yeah.
And then Izzy established himself as a pretty good closer, and it's nice that it was his last, kind of on his last legs, and it's just we need him to hold up because he's become a very key part of this bullpen.
Absolutely. So switching gears a little bit, I want to talk about Jose Reyes specifically. I mean, he's on a bereavement leave right now with the passing of his grandmother, but he's been unbelievable this year. Healthy Jose Reyes. He's hitting the ball, he's getting on base. He's had a couple blunders in the field, but for the most part, he's been pretty steady defensively. He's stealing bases. Granted, it is a contract year. I mean, what are your thoughts? And actually, I didn't get to read the story, but I saw Adam Rubin posted on Twitter a few hours ago that, some Mets source said that they might be more open to dealing right and keeping Reyes. I mean, what are your thoughts on Jose Reyes? Obviously, me as a Mets fan, I want to see him stay, but, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, what are your thoughts so far on Reyes?
Well, right now, with the way he's playing, I think the Mets are in a great spot. And not a lot of people would say that with where they are, considering, their best right now, you got to say he's their best player. I mean,
Absolutely.
Wright has been, he's been interesting early in the year. Yes, they say he's in pain, so let's see what happens when he comes back. But with Reyes, I mean, first of all, there's no way around it. He's having an MVP type start. An MVP type. I mean, there's no player. I mean, I know I've never seen any player like him. I mean, they thought Carl Crawford. Right now, he's playing better than Carl Crawford can.
Yeah.
I mean, I think his average is over 330. He's got something like almost 20 steals. He's hitting triples here and there. I mean, exciting. I mean, he slides into the base and he gives a high five to nobody, but that's
I love it. I think he's giving a high five to the entire bench. That's what I think he's doing.
But you know what? I think, and I was talking to my father about this. He was saying, maybe they should talk about trading him soon. My heart says I want to keep him, just like you said. But I don't know that this team honestly has the money or the the one thing they have working for them is that he does love it here. A lot of people say that, that just to keep that team in the mix.
Yeah.
But his kids, he lives in Long Island. His kids go to school. He really, really wants to stay here. But at the same time, the Mets have to think about their future. Mm-hmm. And yes, he's 26, I think, or 27, something in that range, maybe even 28. Mm-hmm. But he has an injury-riddled past. Teams are not going to give him – nobody's going to give him an 8-year contract.
Right.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
But I think, what the two teams that I think were the best fit are San Francisco and Boston. I do think Boston, is always going to be in the mix when it comes to a player like this.
Right, absolutely.
And I've talked to a couple of Red Sox fans, and they go, "Who would you want in a deal for Reyes?" I said, "Clay Buchholz."
Yeah, pitching, no question, pitching.
You look at this stadium. Every time we see a ball, a guy crush one, and then it's caught at the wall. You go, "Oh, the stadium is killing us," but we got to build this team around the stadium.
Yeah,
it's speed, defense, pitching. That's why it's sad to see a guy like Chris Young go down because he was a perfect fit for the stadium, but he's just not healthy.
Right.
But Reyes does fit this team, but if they do not think that they have what it takes to keep him here, they need to not let him go for nothing. And by nothing, I'm not saying offer him arbitration and get a pick.
Yeah, to me that's nothing. To me, baseball picks, they don't always work out. You want to pick someone in a draft, okay, when's he actually going to have an impact on this team? To me, that means a pick is just as good as nothing in my eyes at this point in time.
Well, just to think where Mike Piazza was drafted. Was the 100th round?
Right. This is the baseball draft is a lot different than, the NBA draft or even the NFL draft to some respect. So, I could care less about the picks. The only thing I would say that I'm concerned about is because he's in the last year of his deal, if they try to deal him before the deadline and he goes to another team and he doesn't have a long-term contract with that team, does that diminish his value a little bit in terms of what we could get back for him?
This is where Sandy Alderson comes in. Yeah. Because, he built all those teams in Oakland, but a lot of people bring that up, but I say, what have you done lately? Same with DePodesta, same with Ricciardi, or however you pronounce his name. And what he needs to do is he needs to be the best chess player possible here. If that means trading him sooner, then do it. If you think this is your best offer. If that means waiting till 11:59 and 59 seconds, then you have to do that. If if he thinks that this team is still in contention, I thought there was something happening.
Nah, it's a commercial.
That's a commercial. If he thinks this team's still in contention and that he could be the piece to put him into the playoffs, once you get there, you never know.
Right.
Then maybe he keeps him. I just think that it's not a decision he can make at this minute. There's so much baseball left to be played.
Yeah.
You see a guy like Justin Turner come out of nowhere. And it's nice because, people, there's nothing better than seeing somebody that, is in the minors, struggling and then struggling to, make the big club, finally gets up here and, lights it up. That's pretty much what he's doing.
Yeah.
He has to weigh what he has on the field and if he could replace Reyes, if the trade that he could potentially make, he gives us pieces that could put them over the top in a different way. There's just so many different things that have to go into it. And I'm just hoping having those secondary guys like Ricciardi and DePodesta and those three minds that everybody says are so brilliant together, hopefully they can put a good plan together for this team. I like what I see so far. They're cutting the bait early with Castillo and Perez. You see a guy like Ching Lung Hu just, occupying space and, they cut him loose. It's good. So they just have to, weigh everything, see what the best thing is to do. And I think the best thing probably to do is going to be to trade him.
Cool. Well, hey, Mike, definitely thanks for joining me tonight. I appreciate it. This has been a long time coming. Been looking forward to talking to you for some time now. And for everyone watching this video, make sure you visit the Daily Stache and check out Mike and Matt and the rest of the gang over there. Thanks, Mike.
All right. Thanks for having me.
All righty.